All right, it's the end of the week, and here we are on the Morning Pitt on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I'm Chris Peak from Panther-Lair.com, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. Most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet, football, basketball, and recruiting, all right here at Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. And of course, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll never miss any of our, as we like to say, exclusive Pitt video content. We have our live Panther-Lair show like we do every Wednesday night at 8:30. We'll do some post-game shows coming up here in the basketball season. Not tomorrow, but we got some planned coming up, as we did after every football game this past fall. It's a little bit tougher with hoops when you have 2 games a week. It's a little bit tougher to work in post-game shows after every one, but I think we can start doing maybe one a week here coming up. And then, of course, our daily Morning Pitt videos that we release on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com every morning, Monday through Friday, including yesterday's Morning Pitt, which if you didn't see it, you should probably go back and watch it. You might even, you should maybe even stop this video and go watch yesterday's, because we had a conversation with Nick Patty, Pitt quarterback, Sun Bowl champion, Nick Patty, and it was a long discussion. It was a long conversation. He was very gracious with his time, but it was... I think well worth your time. I think it's definitely something you want to check out. He talked about the Sun Bowl, talked about his career at Pitt, and talked about what this past year has been like, and that last part might have been the most interesting. So go check it out. It's right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, our conversation with Nick Patty. You can kind of see the headline there because we put it up on Panther-Lair.com as well. It was a good interview, and it's because Nick was really honest, really candid, really open about his thoughts and his feelings, and I think it was something you'll be interested in. So go look for that, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. If you like this video and you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications, you'll never miss any of our videos like that, because you'll get an alert sent to your phone. What is that? Something, a cord wrapped around my phone as I tried to hold it up for a prop. That's what you get for trying to use props during a video like this. So, Pitt Clemson tomorrow. 4 o'clock tip-off, Peterson Event Center. Things getting pretty interesting with your University of Pittsburgh men's basketball Panthers. Hype is growing. Momentum is building. People are getting energized. I happen to look prior to Tuesday's game against Virginia, maybe on like Monday or Tuesday. I happened to look at StubHub. See what tickets were going for the Clemson game, for a Saturday afternoon game. This is before the Virginia game. This was like, I think, during the day on Tuesday. And it was in the 40s. It was like the lowest ticket you could get on StubHub, 43, 47, something like that. I forget, plus fees and all that. But the list price. I looked yesterday, 2 days after the win over Virginia, and now your lowest price tickets to get in the door on StubHub are in the 60s. Now, Pitt, of course, I'm not trying to advocate for any particular ticket sale approach. However you want, if you want to go to the game, buy tickets however you want to do it. I know Pitt, on their website, they're offering, I think the lowest tickets you can get on Pitt's site are $30. And then I think they have a promotion that runs through today, through noon today or the end of the day today. I forget exactly what it is. It's $40 for a lower bowl ticket. So, your better deal is going through Pitt rather than the resale market. But I mentioned the resale market because, unlike Vivid Seats with its 75% of the fans are going to be West Virginia fans nonsense, the resale market does give you some indication of how the market prices are being set. That Monday, Tuesday, before the Virginia game, you're looking at $40 on the resale market. That goes up 50% to 60 and close to 70 for the lowest price tickets in the aftermath of that win. Because the hype is building, because the excitement is growing, the momentum is growing, and for good reason. And the thing I keep coming back to about this Pitt basketball team right now, whether it comes to the question of whether or not fans should buy into it, when it comes to the question of whether or not they can sustain it over the next 2 months, because it's only January 6th. All right, there's a long time to go, 16 more games to be played. And so, sustaining what they've done so far over the next 16 games is, I don't want to say, boy, that's a tall order, but they're going to have to keep playing well. But the thing I keep coming back to about this team is I think the way they're built and the way they're succeeding there is a certain air of sustainability about it. It is something that can be replicated. It is something that can be built upon, and it is something that I don't think they're fluking their way into these wins. Even if the Syracuse game and the North Carolina game was close, those two games were close. Even if they had to come from behind against Virginia in a home game that ends up being a 3-point win, should have been a 6-point win. I won't complain about that anymore, but should have been a 6-point win, but it goes down as a 3-point win. They're not just getting lucky in these games. The Syracuse game, despite blowing a 20-point lead, they were clearly the better team. I think throughout that game, they were the better team. They just let Syracuse back into it. The Carolina game, on individual talent, Carolina's got the advantage. But Pitt showed that as a team, they could go toe-to-toe with that talent advantage, take them down to the wire, and ultimately win. And the Virginia game, I think, was one of the more interesting games we've seen all season in terms of taking something away from the game and drawing some conclusions on the game. It was a situation where they ran into a team that very much did not want to let Pitt do what Pitt wanted to do, a team that was effective at not letting Pitt do what Pitt wanted to do, and yet Pitt was able to eventually find a way to do what it wanted to do. I mean, that's ultimately what basketball comes down to, right? One team, maybe both teams, but one team knows what it wants to do, and the other team is going to try and stop it from doing what it wants to do. I mean, that's sort of the essence of any sport, right? And certainly the case in basketball. And the good teams are the ones that are able to still do the things that they want to do or find new things they want to do to break the other team. And eventually, Pitt broke through on Virginia's defense. And for a team that I think is built for offense, a team that is built to score, a team that is built to shoot, a team that is really offense first, and effectively so, maybe more than Pitt teams we've seen in recent history. For a team that's offense first, they just faced the best defense in the ACC. Now, in the wake of the Pitt-Virginia game, Virginia's defense is no longer at the top of the ACC in field goal percentage defense. That spot now belongs to Clemson, who Pitt will face tomorrow. But I think we can largely agree that Virginia, by reputation, by production, is probably the best defense in the ACC. And Pitt faced that best defense in the ACC. Pitt struggled against that best defense in the ACC for the better part of 24 minutes and then broke through. They cracked the defense and found ways to do what they wanted to do, found ways to get to where they wanted to be, to get the shots they wanted to take, and to make those shots. I think they also stepped it up on the defensive end as well and did a better job defending Virginia in that final 16-minute stretch where they came back from being down 12 to ultimately winning the game. But to me, and it's going to be the case with every game this season, they figured out how to run their offense. They figured out what they needed to do on offense to get the things they wanted to get the shots they wanted to get the looks they wanted to get, and get the opportunities they wanted to get. And eventually they got them. And Nike Sabandi makes baskets. Blake Hinson makes baskets. Greg Elliott does some things. Jamarius Burton, Nelly Cummings. You've got a core here, and it's about 5 or 6 guys that follows the coaching, does what they're supposed to do, and eventually gets the things they want to get. And I feel like it's sustainable for a couple of reasons. And there's really 2 things that I keep coming back to as really at the top of the list. And I've talked about this a couple different times. I talked about this on the live Panther-Lair show on Wednesday night. I did a radio hit yesterday with our guy Joe Ludnowski up in northeastern, northwestern Pennsylvania, I should say. Forget exactly where he is, Oil City or Katanning or somewhere up there. Probably Armstrong County, maybe not Armstrong County. I apologize to Joe if I'm offending him right now. But I was talking to him, and we were talking about this Pitt team. If ACC looks like it's down, maybe some opportunity for Pitt to really make some noise. Can they do it? Can they sustain, or are they just sort of a fluke right now? And I don't think they are. I don't think they're a fluke right now, and I think they can sustain because of how they're built. And this goes back to a conversation we had at the beginning of the season when we talked about the way this team is put together. We talked about the roster construction. And it's, 2 key elements. One, and I'm not sure if either one is more important than the other. They're both really important. One is the veteran backcourt. Nelly Cummings is a senior. Jamarius Burton is a senior. Nike Sabandy and Greg Elliott show up on the screen, perfect timing. They're seniors. That veteran backcourt is so key, so important. When you look, and this is not to say that Pitt is one of these teams, but when you look at the mid-major teams, and I only offer this up as an example of how important it is, but when you look at the mid-major or low-major teams that are able to make a run in the NCAA tournament, a whole bunch of times what you find out is they've got a senior guard or two. They've got a senior point guard who's played, 75, 80 games in his career or something like that. They've got one or two senior guards who've been around, who've played a lot, who can run the team. And Pitt's got at least two of them. I mean, they have four senior guards in Burton, Cummings, Sabandy, and Elliott. But really, the two key guys are Jamarius Burton and Nelly Cummings. And when they have those guys, they're going to have a chance almost any night. Because having that senior guard is it's so important to setting a tone for the team, to sort of leading the team, settling things down, making plays when they need a play to be made. And that could be getting the shot themselves or getting a shot for someone else. Having that, which is something, Jeff Capel has not had. He has not had that level of veteran maturity at the guard position. Maybe Xavier Johnson when he was in his third year. But I still don't even know if you would look at, there's a world of difference between Xavier Johnson as a junior and Nelly Cummings and Jamarius Burton this year. A world of difference. This is drastically different players at drastically different points in their careers. But when you have those guys, and then you throw in Sabandy, and you throw in Elliott, and actually those guys will fit in, Sabandy and Elliott will fit into the second thing here. But when you have those guys, you're going to have a chance because they're going to make plays to give you an opportunity. And then the other thing, and it's perfect that Blake Hinson shows up here, is they have shooters. And this is something we've talked about from the very beginning. Shooters. They've not had this level of shooting in years. I don't know the last team that could shoot as well as this Pitt team could. And like I keep saying, I'm repeating myself, but it's only because I have the opportunity to repeat myself. Where there were things we said in the preseason about what this team could be and how it was built and what it should be able to do and why it might have a chance at success. And those things are coming to fruition. And the one thing is the shooting. Not only are they good shooters, and they shoot a pretty good percentage. Pitt's not top 5 in the ACC in three-point shooting percentage, but there's a reason for that. And the reason is that these guys are willing to take a lot of shots. I think they're still top 3 or top 5 in three-pointers made. It's because they're shooting a lot of them. And so even if their percentage is a little lower, they're like 33, 34% right now as a team, they're shooting so many that they're still a dangerous three-point shooting team that demands attention. I like the fact that Blake Hinson, if you don't close out on him, will take the shot. I like the fact that if you're a little slow to close out on Greg Elliott, he will take the shot. I like the fact that Burton and Cummings and Sabandy all will take the shot. Burton a little bit less than the other two, but you know what I'm saying? You have to have a threat. You have to have a threat of an outside shot, or else it just becomes really easy to defend you. And this is without John Hughley, where last year there was even more emphasis on defending in the paint and defending close to the basket. That threat exists now. Teams have to respect Pitt's three-point shooting. And that just opens up a whole new world of things for Jeff Capel that he can do with this team when he's got a team that has to be respected for its outside shooting. Because he hasn't had that before. He has not had a team that could do that. And when you have those two elements, when you've got the veteran guards and you've got the shooting, which I think Pitt has both things, and I think they're both provable. I think they're both tangible. I think they're real and sustainable, and you can count on them. When you have those things, you're going to have a chance for success. You're going to be able to keep yourself in or play yourself into any game. Especially when you look at the ACC schedule, I'm not sure if I see an opponent there where they're not going to have a chance to play themselves back into a game, even if they fall behind. And the perfect example is on Tuesday night. Virginia, with the way they defend, has to be as difficult or almost as difficult as anybody in the country to come back against. That if Virginia gets a 12-point lead on you in the second half, you are kind of screwed because of the way they defend. Not this Pitt team, though. This Pitt team found a way to battle back and ultimately get the victory. That was that was the most encouraging thing to me. It's not just that they posted a comeback win. They posted comeback wins against Alabama State and William and Mary. Fairleigh Dickinson. Remember, they had that whole run of games where they kept being behind in the first half and they'd end up coming back and winning. It wasn't just that they had comeback wins. We've seen this team do that before. It was that they did it against that team. It was that they did it against that defense with that coach and those players. And if they could do it there, they could do it just about any night. And I think this team has a lot of confidence right now. I think they believe they can get themselves back into any game no matter what happens, no matter if they start slow or start fast or fall behind or get ahead. They can do what they need to do to win. Now, I don't think that means they're going to win the next 18 games or 16 games. But I think they can win a whole bunch of them. And slowly but surely, the expectations for this season are changing. They're climbing. There was a time where we talked about, the NIT would be a great outcome. If somehow they could be on the bubble, if they could win more than they lose overall and in the ACC, that would be a good season. It'd be a step forward. They're starting to move past that point right now. They're starting to move past the point of settling for being on the bubble or settling for the NIT or settling for a record above 500. I'm not going to go so far as to say those expectations are already raised. There's a lot of games left to be played. A lot of things can happen over the course of 16 games in 2 months. And I'm not going to, and if you watch the Panther-Lair show on Wednesday night, I kind of said this as well. I'm not on the Pitt is back train. I'm not going for that. Mostly because I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about where this program is overall. I'm looking at this season. And I'm looking at where this team is this season. Rosters change so much, it's hard to say that a program is back. And besides, a program is built on more than just 1 year. And that's not to diminish anything they've done this season. But don't talk to me about the program. Talk to me about the team. Because this team right now is playing really well. And they're playing at a high level. And they look like they can compete in the ACC, given the state of the ACC this year. And maybe even if the ACC was in a good year, they look like they might be built to compete. This, through 15 games, looks like Jeff Capel's best roster construction that he has done since he got to Pitt. Because of who he brought in, how they fit together, and how they sort of mesh with the overall vision of how he wants to play and what he wants them to be able to do. Now, eventually, John Hughley is going to be back. Maybe tomorrow. I think Pitt will ultimately need John Hughley back and be glad to have John Hughley back. It might take some time for him to settle into, get in the flow and get in the chemistry and see how he fits in. It might take some time for him to learn how to play with these players and these players to learn how to play with him. Ultimately, I think they are the best version of themselves with John Hughley out there playing at a high level. Because, when we talk about the roster construction and the vision and what was supposed to happen this season, how it was all supposed to work together, the big part of those shooters and the big part of being able to shoot this year was that it would take pressure off of John Hughley, that you wouldn't be able to double team Hughley every time he touches the ball, because if you do that, you're leaving a shooter open and they're going to knock it down. Well, we've seen that element exists. They just haven't had Hughley out there to our guy Steve Gertz likes to use the term gravity. John Hughley has gravity on the court. And if he's out there and he's playing at the level he was playing at last year and he gets the ball in the paint, he's going to draw guys to him. And then shooters are going to knock the shots down. And if you decide you're going to defend out to the perimeter, you're going to take Greg Elliott and Blake Hinson out of it and Jamarius Burton and Nelly Cummings, then you're leaving Hughley one-on-one near the basket. He'll take that matchup all day, every day. And that's not to say that Federico deserves to disappear. As a matter of fact, if Hughley does come back tomorrow, I think Federico should continue to start. You start easing Hughley back in, but Federico should be, getting playing time. Starting and playing the bulk of the minutes until Hughley shows that he's ready to earn those minutes back. But Federico's been playing better. I said it after the game on Tuesday night. I said it on the live stream on Wednesday night that, I feel like he grows up every game in the game. Those final 16 minutes on Tuesday night, he was really good. 8 points, 5 rebounds, a steal. He played really well in those final 16 minutes, a big part of the comeback. They come back from 12 down and win by 3. He scored 8 of the points. That's a big chunk, and so he is playing his way into more minutes. You get John Hughley out there, and you can get a little bit of a rotation at the center position. You're not asking Federico to play 29 or 19 minutes and 48 seconds or whatever he played in the second half the other night. You get his minutes down a little bit, let him stay a little fresher, get Hughley up to a moderate, middle level of minutes. He stays fresher. I still think you need to get Nate Santos out there. I think something has to come from him, if nothing else, just to give you a little bit more opportunity to keep fresh legs with the with the guards and the wings. But ultimately, I keep talking about the 8-man rotation. That would get you to 8 if you have Santos, Hughley, and Sabandi as your top reserves off the bench. And I think that would give you a healthy rotation that can keep guys fresh, not run them into the ground, and still give you a good chance to win. But it's going to come down to Burton, Hinson, Cummings, with strong supporting work from Elliott and Sabandi. It's how this team was built. And so far it's working. We'll see what they do against Clemson. This is a battle for first place in the ACC. Pitt and Clemson both 4-0. And your Panthers have a chance to go, approach mid-January at the top of the conference. And even if they lose, everything I've said so far is still true. Everything you've thought about this team, I think, thus far is still accurate. They're still built with these veteran guards. They're still built with good shooters. There are going to be games they lose. I don't think they're going to win 16, the next 16 games in a row, make it 21 wins in a row, because I think they've won 5, right? The ACC's longest active winning streak, I think. They're not going to do that. There are going to be losses along the way. And you might have that little voice inside your head that says, see, they suck. They're not as good as we thought they were. I knew it. I knew they would blow it. I mean, I think all those things we talked about are still tangible. They're provable. And they have precedent. These are senior guards. This is a good shooting team. And that's going to keep them in a lot of games, and it's going to win them a lot of games. We'll see if they can get another one tomorrow. Move into first place in the ACC. Thanks so much for a great week on the Morning Pit. Again, go check out the Nick Patty interview from yesterday. It was a conversation with Nick Patty. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It was really good. One of the better interviews I've been a part of. And thanks again to Nick for joining the Morning Pit. And thanks everybody who checked it out already. Keep watching it this weekend. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I really highly recommend that you give it a look. But thanks again for a great week here on the Morning Pit. It's been a lot of fun to talk to you about Pitt sports every morning. Hope you've had a great week. I hope you have a great Friday. Take it easy. Relax today. Get some stuff done tomorrow during the morning. And then head over to the Peterson Events Center for the 4 o'clock tip-off against Clemson. Huge game. And should be a fun one. So thanks again. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe. And have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you Monday morning for the Morning Pit right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.